Hey there and welcome to CVG's E3 preview of The Division. We're about to hear from Alex Dale from the CVG team, but I'm Tim Clark and I'm joined by Tim Weaver,
hello,
Dan Dawkins, and then we're going to have a chat after that about what we've made of Alex's impressions. So without further ado, over to Alex.
Hi there, welcome back to E3 2013. I'm joined by Alex Dale, who's been to an amazing behind-the-scenes, behind-closed-doors gameplay session of Ubisoft's new open-world game, The Division. Alex, can you tell us what you thought about it?
I thought it was very promising looking. It's difficult to say because we didn't actually get to play it, but it is, as those that sort of Ubisoft presentation will know, it's an open world MMO sort of RPG in the Tom Clancy universe set in New York that's been decimated. Basically, there's been a huge flu outbreak on Black Friday, so the whole of society's in chaos, and it's you're part of The Division. It's a special group that's been set up by the president to go and deal with situations like this. So you've got to go out into this open world and find critical situations and make them work and sort of bring order to this world.
It's interesting. I mean, everything we've seen so far, the game looks stunning, absolutely beautiful, beautiful world. But the gameplay mechanic's quite interesting because it's, correct me if I'm wrong, it's always online. You can have up to 4 squad mates and a 5th person playing via tablets.
Like companion app, yeah.
That's
they
right.
Play as we got to see that behind closed doors. They play as a sort of sentinel up above, and you build up sort of things by helping out your teammates. You can either disable machine guns or you can give sort of XP boosts, sort of stat increases. And once you've done that to a certain degree, you can call in an airstrike. So it's kind of a cool way to play, and obviously as long as you've got an online connection you can play that on the bus or anywhere. You can help your friends out.
Fantastic. So in this behind closed door session, did they show you anything that we haven't actually seen at the conferences before?
Yeah, we had an extended look at the companion app thing, and had sort of a few action sequences, and we saw some of the emergent gameplay that happens in an always online world. So we were out trying to fortify this police station which has been in ruins, and we get attacked by a second group, which is obviously people playing elsewhere in the world.
This seems to be very much the E3 of the companion app. What do you think about this implementation here? Do you think it works? Is it something that players are actually going to use?
I think if you want the best experience of Division, I think you're going to be playing with a gamepad, if I'm going to be honest. It's just interesting, it seems to be the fad this year. I mean, other games such as A Crew, for example, we're like navigating the menu systems with the iPad while the controller's on our lap as well. I mean, is that necessarily any easier? I don't know. It's a nice way to get maybe someone who's not so familiar with the pads, because it's easy to forget that they're quite weird to someone that's not a gamer. It's a good way to get them involved and make them feel like they're part of your hobby, I guess.
Fantastic. Well, thanks very much, Alex. We'll have much more on The Division from Ubisoft as and when we get it.
So The Division then, Alex seemed impressed. He talked quite a bit there about the companion app. Dan, you've not been entirely convinced by the second screen stuff that's been one of the big trends at E3. Does this incarnation of it sound interesting to you?
I mean, bear in mind I've not actually seen it running, so it might be slightly better than perhaps it sounds. It could work. It depends how it's intrinsically bound into the dynamic of the game and if it's addictive. I just think the idea of a sort of vaguely passive app to placate someone who's in your lounge sounds useless.
You
think you
control a
want to
drone,
be
don't
involved.
you? And you can send in missiles and kind of spot enemies that are hidden. And it's got some RPG elements. The Division, it sounds quite light RPG elements, but
yeah.
you can kind of buff your guys' weapon stats or debuff enemies' armor.
It sounds like we were discussing yesterday in the office. We were talking about, and this gives away my age hugely, it's like back in the days of even the ZX Spectrum or even like the Atari or something, where you go around a mate's house and you'd be like, oh, let's play like Elite together or something, or some game like that. And then you go, I'll tell you what, I'll hold the joystick and you be the instructions and Z key man. And you'd be like, oh, my job's brilliant. And you suddenly look and go, hang on, you're doing all the cool stuff.
What I didn't quite follow, in Alex's analogy or example, was that you and 3 mates might be playing it and someone else is just sort of sat in their room just calling in airstrikes, whatever. I don't know, it sounds curious to me.
I think that's the overarching theme of tablets, and I think that's the overarching potential problem, is that it could exactly what Dan's just said. You sit there. I mean, even if they're not massively into games, who is going to sit there willingly and wait for you to say, and now it's your turn to call in an airstrike.
So here's where I think tablets do have a real place to play. And if you think of anything you do, especially in a console game, that's inherently fiddly or time-consuming to sort of micromanage using a pad, that's where a tablet app makes total sense. So if you're playing Skyrim and you want to look after your inventory or kind of, assign different spells and whatnot, then doing that on an iPad I can conceivably think could be a lot easier because you're dragging and dropping and just chucking stuff around. Likewise, a football game, Dan, we talked about.
Yeah, perfect for you're playing live match, you want to change formation. Traditionally in something like PES, you either go into a pause menu and go through fiddly menus, or you hold like L2, R2, preset 1. It's really awkward. If you could just go, they're all there listed, like Football Manager in blocks. You just go 4-4-2, 4-4-3, bring on this striker, take him off, sweep. Almost like just off with your pad as you hold it.
Well, imagine if it's a free kick or something in a football game or a throw-in, and you can see all the players as dots moving around, and you could just sort of drag your left back up a bit and go, all right, tell you what, striker, you actually sit on the edge of the D. But we drifted away a bit from the Division there.
Yeah, I've got a nice segue for you, is in someone who's got companion apps right so far is Hideo Kojima, or certainly I'm interested in what he's talking about, and this was exclusively revealed on CVG just yesterday. But Kojima's plans for second screen integration is to be able to design your own missions for Metal Gear Solid 5 using the tablet, which again is something that Infamous, another game we talked about, flirted with. But the idea of doing it as a separate mini game on the app sounds quite fun and seamlessly integrated. And Kojima himself also said he thought The Division was one of the standout games of E3, and he's going to show it to his own team almost as a source of inspiration. And he praised the user interface and felt it was very European in feel.
He's quite. He's almost a sort of industry patron, Kojima, isn't he? He was certainly a bit dilettantish in terms of he'll travel around each year and visit different studios to see what they're working on. I know he's gone to DICE before.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure he might have gone to Infinity Ward even before as
well. He praised The Last of Us heavily last year, and he went to see them behind closed doors. In fact, he was interested in their sort of technology that would when you throw a punch in The Last of Us, I think the animation chooses whether it accidentally knocks something over or hits the guy directly, depending where you are, context sensitive. Kojima was really interested in that tech.
There's an animation in The Last of Us which sees your own jaw get torn off by a man. It's absolutely horrible. So you've got that to look forward to this
jaw
weekend.
Dropping.
Yeah. But on the subject of jaw dropping, how about those the Division visuals? Tim, do you think it's one of the games that's demonstrated a real example of what next gen can be?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, for me, it was probably the most outstanding performance in terms of next gen in inverted commas visuals. I think this generation of games, all the sort of rezzed up screenshots and all the CGI trailers has spoilt us a little bit because the leap to next gen has not been as huge as it was from Xbox to 360 and PS2 to PS3. But The Division was definitely the exception to the rule. I mean, that moment where it kind of tracked down the side of a building, I was thinking, please make this in-game. Please make this in-game. But then I saw the visuals and I thought, I don't know, I think it's a kind of a step too far. And then it swooped in behind him. And that was, for me, the wow moment of the conference day was when it turned into this was actual in-game graphics.
And it's coming to Xbox One, PS4 and PC, isn't it? But not current gen, am I right in thinking that? So do you think that shows a distinction between something like, say, Watch Dogs, which is out this year, has to be on the current systems as well? So although it looks great, it's probably still tethered to a bit more of a kind of today benchmark.
Yeah, I mean, I think you can see a clear distinction at the show between games that are crossing the generations and those that have committed fully to the next generation. And
something like The Witcher 3, I think, has been one of the other real graphical...
I mean, stunning.
Right.
Yeah,
Absolutely
there's
stunning.
that bit where he walks into the village and it's all on fire and it looks properly...
Yeah, so I mean, for me, The Division, in terms of visuals, set such a massively high benchmark that some of the games that have come out of the show afterwards have failed to kind of live up to that kind of level, I think.
It's really promising for the future, as in, we're only next gen hasn't even begun. Let's bear that in mind. And I think a few of us have been, I wouldn't say let down, but maybe some of the visuals haven't blown you away in the way previous generation launches have. But to have a game like The Division straight away make you go, wow, and that's the first pass at getting next gen right. And you've got these huge, powerful consoles.
Are you convinced generally, Dan? But there seems to be one of the other key trends at the show is this push to multiplayer, co-op especially focused multiplayer that's sort of persistently on in open worlds. I mean, Destiny's doing it, The Division's clearly doing it. It seems like it's going to be a real theme of the next gen. Do you think we'll see traditional single player experiences start to become more marginalised, or do you think they'll just coexist?
I feel like it's a debate we've almost had, where it was certainly when Call of Duty felt preeminent and Battlefield multiplayer became the thing that on the back of that, then the big games were, let's say, Uncharted 2, Batman, Arkham Asylum, Skyrim, all resolutely single-player experiences. And all those games were not only critically acclaimed, but they sold really well. So I think there's definitely a market for single-player games, and they will continue to be. So I'm not convinced that forcing people always online is going to be the solution.
I think what my personal take on it is that, and I was writing about this when I was writing about Destiny yesterday, is that I think that one of the big cues that's almost gone unnoticed, but it has been a huge success, the game, is the Borderlands, the two Borderlands games, and the way they managed to take what's really a fairly fundamental sort of, you could easily see how that game would be a single player RPG style shooter, but by bringing that co-op element and the loot element, it suddenly becomes a really social dynamic thing, and Destiny's definitely trying to do that. I suspect the Division is also going to drive into that. When they talk about RPG stuff, I think that's what they mean. It'll be about collecting cool guns and cool.
One of the things that is nice is that at least they're sort of incorporating the multiplayer side of things in from the start. What we don't want is more single-player experiences with multiplayer locked on at the end in some sort of last-minute rush to get a multiplayer option there, Yeah,
here's Lara Croft playing King of the Hill.
Yeah, exactly.
I like the idea of playing a single-player game, and then after like 10 hours realising, I can go online and finding out that all my work isn't lost because every gun I've got, or I've accrued secret XP when I go online. I don't arrive as a noob.
Funnily enough, though, I mean, one of the games I think really blazed a trail in this space, even long before Borderlands, was the original Phantasy Star Online on Dreamcast, which used to play on a dial-up modem pre-broadband. But I remember swapping guns with people I met and using the Dreamcast keyboard to chat to them and thinking what a different experience that was. And I think that sort of social, kind of enjoying a single player experience with friends rather than playing lunatic racists from oceans away, I think will be a big part of next gen. So the Division's looking great. Stay tuned to CVG and the CVG YouTube channel for more reaction videos as we wind up from the show, and don't forget to hit subscribe. Cheers.